All right, howdy. Welcome to episode 5 of Snakestories and 3 of what will, I think, be 3 on my subject of picks. Now, I've gone through a lot of picks in the last couple days, and some of them are just silly and stupid, and a lot of them are really just all fine depending on your taste. And I think ultimately that's the point, is that, you know, it's worth going through for yourself and figuring out what works for you. For probably 99% of the people on the planet, this would work fine. And definitely you should not take away that those triangular ones that I was showing yesterday, the clear plastic, are like $5 or $7 a piece, as it turns out. So I would not do that. I definitely would not, spend what I paid for some of the other really weird ones that I've got. Those $4 a piece Dunlops, or the, any of the weird, like I wouldn't buy that $60 Fender silver one. But everybody's a little different. So I've got a few left to go through, a couple of which are just kind of unusual, and some are kind of special for novelty reasons. So we'll go through those, and then that'll be it. I'm going to start out with my trusty old baby blue Fender plastic, just to set the baseline. Plastic, and I will do a little bit of a wrap at the end too, and tell you the ones that work the best for me, aside from the boring old Fender one. I've got some of these that are kind of just unusual today. I'm gonna start with a couple of novelty ones. First off, I have actually got a whole pack of these Hello Kitty picks. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but it's one of those deals where if you look at it from different angles, the picture looks like it moves. And these are awful, terrible picks. They just feel like they're punched straight out of a piece of plastic. And, whatever they do normally to smooth off the ends of a real pick, they didn't do this, so it just has this lip on it. So it's a terrible pick, but hey, it works. It's got good clackability. I suppose you could probably spend some time with some sandpaper or a nail file and make them a little more usable, but I think they're meant to be a novelty collectible more than anything else. Then I have this one here, which is it's a vintage pick. I found this in a 1960s era guitar case that I wish I could read what was on it, because I think it used to have something printed on it, but I can't read it anymore. But it's cool because it's this cool kind of psychedelic tortoise shell. It's thin, so it's really only good for strumming for me, but it's more of an artifact than it is a usable pick. I mentioned the other day these Fender, what I call Dorito Picks, and I use them for bass, because when I play bass, I'm usually playing for somebody else. So left to my own devices, I would play bass with fingers usually. But if I'm doing something and they want a real, high energy, a lot of impact sounding kind of rock thing, like a lot of the metal and rock bass players have done over the years, then I would use this. And this is what I would use because I would hold it out considerably further than I do a normal pick. I really wanted to really grab those strings and really make an impact. But I probably have 2 of those around, and I keep them just for that. I used to take them to gigs because I would have bass players that would show up to the gig without a pick. And that's kind of a disaster. Then I have this one here, which is cool, mostly just for where I got it. It's really just at the basic analysis, it's just another Tortex pick. It's black. But I got this one from, I don't know if you'll be able to see any of that. It's the Ramones Museum in Berlin, Germany, which is something you should check out if you can. I think I paid like $1 for this pick. Maybe it was $2. I forget. They used to sell Johnny Ramone actual guitar picks, and this museum is actually run by one of the guys who played drums for the Ramones. He lives in Berlin, and that's why the museum is there. It's a really cool place and a really cool part of Berlin, right down by the river, the Spree, which is where the remaining sections of the Berlin Wall still are. So it's one of a lot of things that are cool to see if you ever get a chance to go to Berlin. But they have a lot of weird attractions. The other one that I can think of right offhand is the David Hasselhoff Museum, which is kind of in a side room of a restaurant in downtown Berlin. But he's like a national treasure over there. So if you get a chance to check out Berlin, do it. Then I have this one here, just called a Pasa grip, P-O-S-A-G-R-I-P. And I don't know if you can see, but what it's got is it's got essentially a ton of holes in it. Plays like any other celluloid pick, but I guess the thinking was that those holes maybe would provide some vacuum, or maybe your fingertips would bite into those holes, or whatever. But I mean, they're okay. I wouldn't pay extra for them. Then this one's really weird. What's this one? Can I even read this one? I can't. It's actually, I don't know if you can see that. It's actually curved, and the idea, I guess, is that your thumb would go in this curve here, and then your finger would go here, and it's a better grip. To me, it's worse because I'm used to that kind of a feel of a flat piece of plastic right there. And again, remember what I said about a grip in the wrong place being worse than a grip, no grip at all. And that's kind of what's going on there, is that it holds it up way too far for me. So I would find this pretty much impossible. Yeah, I'm basically just hitting the strings with it. Not even going to mess with that. Then I have a shark fin pick. These I've seen in a number of different configurations since I first saw them in the 80s. I don't even know who makes them anymore. But I had a guitar player in the 90s who just thought these were the best thing ever, because you could rake across the string, although it doesn't really work very well. You can also do that with, I guess it doesn't work. So he liked that. On this edge here, you could kind of annoying. It's got a really sharp end here that you can use. It's got a regular end here, and I mean, if I hold it where I would normally hold it, it's slightly clumsy because the end of it's too wide, a lot like those plastic see-through ones that I showed yesterday, which are actually like $7 a piece. Can you believe that? So if they work for you, great. I'm not paying $7 a piece for picks. I bought some of these in the 80s just as kind of a novelty. They had a big ad, I think, originally, whoever did them, in Guitar Player or Guitar World or Guitar for the Practicing Musician, and so I bought some of them. Then I have yet another Dunlop weirdity. This is a Dunlop Gator. It's essentially just another Tortex pick, but they've really narrowed down the sides of it, so it's got a real edge to it. Now, I'll tell you, one of the things that I used to love about nylon picks was back in the 80s, we were playing a lot of hard rock songs, and a lot of them had pick slides in them. And after you do about 3 of those on one of these picks, it's dead. In fact, that was, aside from just wearing the tip down, which I would probably go through one a set if I didn't lose them, those ridges, cutting those holes in the edge with the string, is really what kills picks. So, nice thing about the nylon is you can do that as much as you want, and it really doesn't do anything to the pick. So that's kind of cool. And then I showed this one yesterday a little bit. This is a silver pick that my friend made, And I liked it because it has kind of a different. You can hear it kind of. But it's not as clumsy as a coin. You know, I've heard that Billy Gibbons uses a quarter or a Mexican peso, which is actually more like a $50 size. You know, and he likes that corrugated edge on it. I would find that seriously clumsy and wouldn't be able to use it. Of course, it's right up against his finger all the time, so he's getting a lot of pinch harmonics and things like that. And then related to that, I have a British Sixpence. I saw, like everybody else, an article in Guitar Player or something like that in the 80s where Brian May talked about using a Sixpence. And what you hear is that it does make a lot of noise against the strings. And you get a lot of kind of accidental pick harmonics because it's really, I mean, your finger is running right against the edge of it there. So it's not a super practical thing, but if you want to try these out, I will tell you that silver makes a much different sound than the new version. So they don't even call them a sixpence. I think they have like a dime. It's roughly the same size, but because decimalization, so they don't call, they don't have like sixpence and shillings anymore. But if you can find these, I got a lot of 10 of these on eBay for like $4. I mean, they're not expensive, especially if you don't want to get really old ones. These are Queen Elizabeth, which means they're probably from the 60s, early 60s, maybe 50s, because it's they call the young girl profile before they did the older one. So anyway, those are what I have for picks. What are the winners in this whole thing? Well, obviously, I really like and have always, continued to use the plain old, Fender plastic pick. And in that regard, or in that light, I'm also a big fan of the Dunlop celluloids, because even though they play, I mean, they feel just super, super at home in my hands. And actually, I think the celluloid is a little bit grippier for whatever reason than the Fender plastic. So these are probably my, go-to favorite. If I had to pick one that I would play for the rest of my lives, these are it. And they do make a cool noise when you drop them on the ground. A surprise one that I actually forgot until I was going to do these videos is the copper, the thin copper. And actually, I mentioned yesterday I thought they'd probably be kind of rough on your strings, and if you're a Pete Townsend windmiller basher, watch out you don't chew up the finish on your guitar or your pick guard. I know the British call it a scratch plate, but it's still a pain in the ass and expensive if you have to replace it. And nobody I've ever known that strums hard enough to scratch up their scratch plate just scratches up the pick guard. They also get the guitar too, and that gets to be expensive and kind of ugly. So be careful if you go with these. Don't overpay for them. And then ultimately, this one here, the Tusk Pick, I like them in the white or the tan, but they're both great and they last forever. So check these out if you can too. They're more expensive than the plastic ones, but they make the coolest noise of all. And that's about it for picks. On to something else next time. Thanks.